The chapter starts at the walrus school, where suddenly a huge snake called Jormungandr appears and chases children. When the snake is about to eat one of the children, an adult giant appears and hits the snake with a huge hammer. The giant says, "Step out of my way, children." Then in an amazing double page, Saul appears at the top of a branch and hits the snake too with a powerful hockey punch, smashing it to the ground. Saul says, "Sorry for being late." "Get away from there, Kiba! Kimatsu Shiken." The children are amazed to see their teacher save them. We meet Kiba, current Walrus School principal, and a former member of the Giant Warrior Pirates. Kiba's face is like a walrus face with two long tusks and whiskers. We don't know if he has any devil fruit powers or if he's a half mink. Kiba also has a huge hammer with two long spikes like walrus tusks. The giant kids say, it's Mr. Principal and Mr. Saul. Mr. Principal was a warrior too? And the rumor that Mr. Saul is super strong is real. They said he used to be in the Navy. So cool. Kiba says, "Oh, my back. Thanks for the help, Saul." Saul says, "Don't mention it, but what exactly is this snake?" Robin and Chopper appear and they're hiding in Saul's beard, lol. Robin says, "Saul, there are monsters like this in the sun world too?" Saul says, "No, there should just be normal wild animals." Chopper says, "It's huge." Weird incidents continue to happen all over the school. A teacher called Wolf is found injured and kids are suddenly falling asleep. Saul asks saved children where their companions are. Saul says, "Where did Yilva and the other kids go?" The giant children say, They're headed to the beach." "Teach, it was so weird, everyone is asleep and don't respond to anything we said." Robin says, "Asleep? But weren't they walking?" The giant children said, "Yeah." Then we see a group of giant kids walking in line out of the school as they're sleeping. We see one of Gunko's arrows leading their way to the beach. The giant children say, "Everyone is asleep and don't respond at all." Saul says, "Come back, where is everyone going?" Suddenly, some massive shadows appear in the forest and they turn out to be more monsters. So Principal Kiba decides to take emergency measures. Kiba says, "Blow the horn, let the whole country know, and evacuate all school immediately." Okay, so that's our opening sequence there, although it's probably going to take like 6 pages in the actual chapter. But first of all, we're seeing that Saul has hockey because, of course, why not? Vice Admiral, I guess so. But it just brings me back to the dead horse that I'm always beating. And it's like, if these characters suddenly have hockey post-time skip, it's like, why don't the Straw Hats? Why doesn't Robin have hockey if freaking Saul does? Saul wasn't doing anything for the last 20 years. He learned it on Elbaf, just chilling and being a teacher and everything, while Robin, who trained with the Revolutionary Army, didn't learn it. I digress. Don't even get me started on Usopp. We've got plenty of time to talk about him as this arc goes on. But we're seeing the plan of the Holy Knights in action here. I'm assuming they released Jormungandr and the other quote-unquote monsters to distract the adults here while the children are being lured off, because I guess that's their plan, right? To kidnap the children and therefore force the giants to work for the world government. Now, as for how Gunko is doing this with her devil fruit, I guess it's just how it works. And that's the long and the short of it. Her arrows can just lure the kids asleep to the direction that she wants them to go. They're luring them to the beach so that they can get on ships, because they can't just teleport them with the Abyss portals, because they don't have the quote-unquote mark. And I'm assuming this mark is what Summers has on like his left elbow that we saw in the previous chapter, I think. Cut to the underworld. Loki is standing in front of Luffy and the others with Ragnir in his hands. Despite his injuries, Loki seems fine. Loki says, "You think you can restrain my power with a single sea stone cuff on my leg? How naive. If you want to protect Elbaf, release me immediately, and I will show you right now whether or not that's just some empty bluff." Hirudin says, "Loki!" Luffy says, "You!" Sanji says, "What the heck is this guy's deal?" And Loki says, "I'd hurry up if I were you. It'd surely hit something if I blasted enough times. The flame will spread. You know Elbaf's weakness just as well as I do, don't you? Know that I have the power to destroy you all." Hirudin says, "Stop it, Loki." Then, in an epic double page, Loki hits Treasure Tree Adam with Ragnir. He uses it as a baseball bat. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and the new giant warrior pirates are in shock. As Loki hits the tree, a lightning falls from the sky and hits the same spot of the tree where Loki uses Ragnir on. The lightning also strikes an area on the branches of the Atom Tree where it fell off, so that part of the sun world catches fire. In the village, giants at the party see that the fire has started. Giants say, Master Jarl, a fire broke out in the southern part of the island. And wasn't that the horn being blown just now? Jarl says fire is bad. Hurry with the extinguishing of it. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Hofsco, because I just upgraded my Hof Alpha 26-inch fat tire electric bike with the rear rack. This is something that I've really needed for a while now, and I'm glad I finally got it because I could have storage and cargo on my bike. Now, I'll get a little more into that, but let me just point out that I absolutely love my Hof Alpha. This is probably my favorite possession. I ride it almost every single day. I love cruising around on it, commuting, running errands, and now I can easily go to the grocery store and store my groceries on this thing with the rear rack attachment that I just got. It has a 1300 watt motor, a top speed of 28 miles per hour. That's right, this thing is really fast. It has a payload capacity of 450 pounds, a 48 volt 28H battery with a range of 60 miles, a 7 gauge shifter, a great LED display, a headlight and a tail light, as well as really responsive hydraulic brakes. And no terrain has really ever given me issues with this thing, whether it's on the trail, on the road, or in the woods. So guys, check the link in the description and make sure you use code BIGZ for $100 off of your Hof Alpha 26-inch fat tire bike. Thanks, guys. All right, here we go. Loki finally doing something, and he's hitting Treasure Tree Adam with Ragnir, which is like the One Piece equivalent of Mjolnir. And we weren't sure exactly what was happening yesterday, but the lightning is striking the tree, and it's causing fire to the branches. And I guess also Loki is hearing the horn being sounded because Kiba gave the order, like, hey, blow the horn, let the whole country know, and evacuate the school immediately. So I guess that's why Loki's like, release me, I could save Elbaf here. And this is really impressive because Loki is so powerful that even while having a sea stone cuff on his leg, he can still swing this thing. Normally what we've seen before, once you get cuffed with sea stone and you're a devil fruit user, you're pretty much done. And we talked about this yesterday as well, and it's like, how does Ragnir work? Did it eat a devil fruit and it gains this lightning strike ability? Because if it did, I don't know what devil fruit it would have, because Enel has the lightning Logia fruit, so I guess it would have to be some kind of analog to that, or it's some kind of mythical Zoan that allows it to have lightning striking powers, because why not? Mythical Zoans could do 7 things at once. And I also pointed out how we saw earlier that Shamrock, Shanks' brother, has a sword that ate the Cerberus fruit, or something like that. So if it's not that, then I don't know how Ragnir works. It has to be some other kind of set of power that we haven't been introduced to yet. Maybe it has some kind of like stored residual hockey in it, similar to that knot that Emeth had with Joy Boy's hockey in it, but that was like a one-time use. It seems like Ragnir can always just cast lightning. Not really sure, but I'm going to make a follow-up video to this sometime in the next 2 days, once we can actually see what's going on here. Cut back to the Walrus School. Ange tells Saul and Kiba that she has seen those monsters before. She explains that earlier in the day, she asked the kid in the class to draw the things I fear. So the kids drew monsters like Fenrir, Draugr, Loki, and even Nika. We see some of that drawing, and now the kids' fears suddenly came to life. Ange says, this is a world straight out of the children's worst fear. Then, in an absolutely epic double final page of the chapter, we see that the Walrus School is surrounded by an army of giant monsters that look like the kids' drawings. Saul, Ange, and Kiba watch the monsters approaching the school through the forest. The monsters are colossal, and each one has a different style since they were drawn by different children. We see a huge dragon, a bear with a helmet, a giant bird, a frightening thundercloud, and a ghost. We also see a giant skeleton soldier, a Draugr, a giant wolf, Fenrir, and a furious giant Loki, and an evil warrior who looks like Nika's picture that appears in the Harley book. The chapter ends with Gunko, Summers, and Killingham observing everything in the distance. Shamrock doesn't appear in this chapter. Killingham says, all right, everything in this place. Summer says, good work, Killingham. Killingham says, the time limit will be till those brats arrive at the ships. You think they will be able to get them back before that? Summer says, yeah, love is all about hurting each other. Summers asks Gunko something in the last panel of the chapter. He says, hey, Gunko, you got anything you fear? And Gunko says, Nika. End of chapter. So, not really sure exactly what's going on here, but judging from reading this, it seems like Killingham, the guy who is implied to have the Kieran mythical Zoan devil fruit, might have sleeping powers, or maybe that's one of the abilities that he has. Like we said, mythical Zoans have like 17 abilities, so maybe one of them is like he can make people fall asleep, possibly. I don't remember reading that in the lore of the Kieran. Or maybe he's not the Kieran, maybe he's something that looks like it. Or maybe this goes into like the Kieran lore about how it doesn't harm people or how it can't harm people or something. I'm not sure because he has like a trident, so I'm sure he's harming people. He's a freaking holy knight. And then as for bringing their nightmares to life or bringing their fears to life, this might be Summer's devil fruit. But still not sure because the whole zzz onomatopoeia, which, you know, means sleeping, is tied to Killingham. And then Summer says, good work, Killingham. So I don't know if, like, he has both of these powers here, where he can make you fall asleep and then your fears come to life. But I'm going to assume that it's all three of them working together here. Like, Killingham putting them to sleep, Gunko guiding them to the ships with their arrows, and then Summer's bringing their fears to life that they drew. Again, could be wrong. Let me know in the comments what you think, but it would make sense if this was Summer's devil fruit ability, like he could just bring fears to life. That would be insane. I don't know the extent of it yet because this is the first time we're even seeing what it could be. I don't know if you need to draw it or if it just manifests fears or something, or if he just needs to know what you fear and then he can manifest it somehow. Because he asks Gunko, like, hey, you know, you got anything you fear? Which makes me think maybe this is his devil fruit. And we also talked about this yesterday, but it's like Nika is something that people fear. Not only Gunko at the end of the chapter here, but also the children. It's like, why do they fear Nika? Well, it's possible that, like we also speculated about a couple weeks ago, maybe there are two Nikas. One Nika was like the liberator, and one Nika was the destroyer or something, and he was like a bad Nika. It could go into the duality that I also talked about, how there's like two sides of the Ds. Like some Ds are good, some Ds are bad, as we see with Blackbeard and Luffy, Rox and Roger, and this is probably the dichotomy with Nika as well, and it all ties together. Now, as for why Gunko fears Nika, not sure. We're going to have to speculate even more about that. Is Gunko from the Void Century? Is Gunko actually Emu? Is it a vessel being used by Emu or something? Because it's implied that Emu can't leave Mary Joie, which I'm going to talk about in a collab with Sai next week. Or it's just that the Celestial Dragons and the Holy Knights have it hardwired into them that Nika is like their Antichrist and he's going to bring down everything that they have. Because, you know, it's always been said that the Ds are the eternal enemies of the Celestial Dragons and vice versa or whatever. Again, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'm going to make a follow-up video to this chapter in the next 2 days once we can see what's going on. But until then, if you liked it, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day and I'll see you in the next one.